Hello! In this video, you will learn how to fully customize Azure Kubernetes service using Azure Container Service Engine. Azure Container Service Engine is an open source project that enables power users to customize the cluster configuration at both infrastructure and cluster orchestrator software level. We briefly discussed Azure Container Service Engine in Section 3, Video 2. Azure Container Service Engine provides us with features that are not implemented in Azure Kubernetes Service, namely supporting creating clusters with Azure AD as authentication provider, supporting master etcd data encryption with Azure Key Vault, supporting clusters with GPU support, and several networking customization support options, including Calico or Cilium for network policy enforcement, and finally, supporting more secure Kata containers instead of Docker containers. Installing Azure Container Service Engine is straightforward. It's just a command line tool written in Go language. Azure Container Service Engine binaries and source code are available in their GitHub. Download the binaries and add their location to your system environment's path variable. Let's see how Azure Container Service Engine is used. You start by filling in the Azure Container Service Engine cluster definition file with your parameters. Azure Container Service Engine consumes a cluster definition file which outlines the desired shape, size, and configuration of your Azure Kubernetes service cluster. Next, you run the actual Azure Container Service Engine tool, passing in the cluster definition to generate a number of files. Azure deploy.json ARM template is the main Azure Resource Manager template used to deploy a full Kubernetes-enabled cluster. Azure deploy.parameters.json is the parameters file used along Azure deploy.json during deployment and contains configurable parameters. Certificate and access config files are also created. Kubernetes requires certificate generation, so the access files like the kubeconfig are stored alongside the ARM template files. Finally, you will deploy the generated ARM templates like you will deploy any other Azure resource using Azure Resource Manager templates, PowerShell, ACSE CLI, or Azure DevOps. The Azure Resource Manager takes care of creating the needed cluster resources. And then you're all set and able to connect your cluster using kubecontrol. Here are some references about Azure Container Service Engine. How to perform an Azure Resource Manager template deployment using ACSE CLI. A sample Kubernetes cluster definition file for Azure Container Service Engine, a detailed walkthrough to deploy your first cluster using Azure Container Service Engine, and a full list of Azure Container Service Engine features for Kubernetes. To complement your hands-on self-studying later, please also check out the following resources: Kubernetes Slack, Azure Friday video series with Scott Hanselman, the Twitter account of Gabe Monroy, the creator of Helm and head of product for Azure Cloud Native Compute, and the Twitter account of Brendan Burns, one of the founders of Kubernetes and now distinguished engineer at Microsoft. This wraps this video, section, and the whole course. I hope you enjoyed the content and will now find it easier to navigate in the sea of containers.